Hello and welcome to another episode of the People's Podcast. I am your host, Paul Vibes, local motivational speaker. Our show is all about spirituality, self-development, connection, wellness. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on a variety of different social media pages. If you know somebody that would be a great guest to our show or sponsor, please reach out. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Paul Vibes here. Welcome to another Zoom podcast. We have Gordon Gooding. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have you on. Obviously, it's not the best circumstances, but I felt like you would be an amazing guest because you're always advocating wellness, mindfulness, always advocating for people to be grounded and find ways to live a balanced life. So I'm excited to have you on.
Paul, thank you so much for having me on. I know this is, I would much rather be sitting next to you doing this, but given the circumstances, here we are. And I appreciate you giving me a chance to come on here and talk a little bit and kind of remind people about our mental and physical wellness at this point.
Yes, absolutely. And you're sitting right now in your center. Tell us a little bit about the place that you started.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have an office here in Cold Spring Harbor. I started off having my own practice and just myself seeing clients and individuals and families and working a lot of anxiety and depression and some substance abuse issues. And over time, you know, there's a lot of people out there looking for some good help. And I've been fortunate enough to really have made some really good connections in the community and good connections with other great mental health providers. So I kind of brought a couple other people on board, and now we have about 8 of us here, all working, you know, part-time and here to help the community in any way possible. So we work everyone from really young kids, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, elementary age, to middle school, high school, to college ready, up until, you know, you name the age, and we're kind of, I have a joke, we're 5 through 105. We haven't had a 105-year-old yet, but maybe, you know.
I like that. You're open to all people. And I think in today's world, more than ever, we all need help, right? It's great to have a specialty to focus on a certain age group. And I've been to your center, and you guys have a beautiful location. I got to say, just from the outside, you got the cafe downstairs, your office. I've been in that office. We've had great, and speaking of connections, you've been a great connection of mine. And every conversation that I have with you as someone who's going to school for social work, you know, I really look up to you as not just a friend, but as a mentor. And I really appreciate that.
Well, thanks, Paul. I appreciate those words. And it was really great having you here. I just wish the coffee house downstairs was still open.
Man, you must be, is that why you're a little cranky? I'm just kidding. Listen, coffee, man.
I do miss my Sweetie Pie's coffee. I will say that.
Yeah,
Sweetie Pie's in Cold Spring Harbor. My little plug for that. You know.
And you never complain about not having anywhere to meet somebody. I mean, now you can't, but obviously what's going on, but you got a great setup in the whole office. The way even your waiting room is like, it's like a meditation just being around there. I really mean that. You guys got a really beautiful spot. Now, tell us.
I felt like if I'm going to have an office that I'm going to be in, I want it to relax me. And when I'm going to relax in a good space, I mean, that's one of the things everybody kind of comes in, has the similar type reaction. So that's one of the best compliments you can give me. So
like even just watching the video chat, you got the salt lamp in the background, you got the nice window, you got the very rustic look to it. Looks great.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Before we go into some, you know, we want to talk about a lot of things, wellness, different ways people can stay healthy and grounded during this time. But I want to hear, as a practice, how you guys have been able to, and it's a learning curve and it's experience for everybody. How did you adjust to everything? Because this happened quickly, and we didn't expect this to happen. None of us. And I, you know, all my classes are online. My job has changed a lot. But I'm really curious to see how you and your fellow colleagues in your school job, but also in your own private practice, how has that adjustment been for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's no different than everybody else's. You know, we're strolling along, everything's great, and all of a sudden,
bam,
here we are, right? In terms of the practice, you know, we do have a group of therapists here, and everybody has their own set of own specialty. You know, some work with younger kids, middle school kids, or high school or adults. So the pivot was really kind of interesting because we really feel we really like to stress personal connections, just like you talk about, like being face to face, being in the same room together and seeing people,
connecting,
engaging, right? That's what counseling is really about. So to go from, trying to having that great forum and a great place here to kind of connect with people, and we usually not even just use our office. We usually, with our young people, we go outside with them. We walk, we're in Cold Spring Harbor, so we walk down by the water with them. I work with my adults and we just, walk outside, especially this time of year. So much of our office is really this little village of Cold Spring Harbor too. So it's
in
such
your backyard. You could just walk outside your office and
yes, so it's such a pivot to say, all right, now the whole way we've been doing it, we got to change everything. And, we've luckily had a platform that we were able to kind of switch over to a video type session like you and I are doing right now, and some phone sessions. And it's a change. It's a change. A lot of young people, listen, I'm a little older than you, just a little bit, right?
5 years.
Well, thank you. So like this technology is still so much newer to me than it is to some of our younger clients that come in here. So I think in some ways people like me are probably having a harder time adjusting it than some of our younger clients. But and actually some of our older clients also have a hard time just adjusting to it. But it's about making the best of what we have. And listen, whether we're in the same room or we're through a video or through a computer like this, it's about connection.
Yes.
That the importance is really to stay connected. So as much as I'd love to have everyone in the same office, I'm glad we used to we find other ways to connect through video sessions like this or telephone, or we actually have done a couple of community forums on Zoom as well. Wow. Which are really nice to get other people from the community, because we're all having, this is the one time we're all having that same shared experience. It's like, this is not just a Huntington thing or a Cold Spring Harbor thing or a Long Island thing. This is
exactly,
so that's
something I want to talk to you about, because, and I think in this field, I'm sure you've seen it, heard this a lot more than I have. You always have that issue, whether you're working with substance abuse or young adults or anybody, that little dilemma of, well, have you been through this? Have you gone through that? Or you may even feel that way. Oh, I'm having trouble connecting with this person because maybe I haven't been through. But this is something where, unless you're living as a monk under a rock somewhere, which may not be a bad thing nowadays, right?
Yeah.
But you're all going through this arm in arm. And this is something that, we were talking before we started recording of the positive things that can come out of this. We are really going through this as a collective. And the lessons and stuff that we learn, and a lot of people are very cynical about, oh, we're going to go back to our old ways as soon as. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I think there's going to be a lot more good. And of course, as we were talking about, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of terrible things. People are passing away. And I mentioned even some family members of mine have tested positive. But I truly believe that there's a lot of good that can come out of this. And you mentioned a second ago that you've been able to maybe connect with people on forms that maybe you didn't connect with in the past. And the nice thing about you putting your classes and your different meditations, all the different workshops you offer online, is people that may not have been able to see it originally or wouldn't have come across it are now getting these amazing resources, these amazing workshops that are now learning about your services. And that in itself is kind of amazing.
Yeah. Everything has got other opportunities to it, right? And like we talked about, I'm not looking to minimize. Listen, there's so much heartache going out there right Definitely. Now. There is, they call it a collective trauma is what we're all kind of experiencing right now, with this immense hardship that we're all put under. And at the same time, there's also this collective recovery, right? With that we are all having the same experience. And whether it's really close to home for some of us who have family members, or it's just close enough with, listen, I feel like it hasn't hit my family directly, but it hits people closest to me that are like my family. Mm-hmm. That I watched them go through a couple of weeks of really struggling and thought and worried about them every day. So that angst, that trauma, that concern for our community is there, nonstop. And at the same time, there's something very connecting. Listen, I've always said in counseling or in different recovery groups or just as human beings, that when we connect, there's healing there. Right. So that's what's so important. So even if we're all, I find some solace in going on a Zoom meeting and seeing, 9 people in Brady Bunch squares that we're all in the same together. Like we're all stuck in these little boxes right now. So it's like, all right, that there is a real healing component to know that we're not the only ones, maybe I would say that, 6 months or years ago too, is that we all have these things that connect us, and we have more that connects us than that divides us. So, this is I can't put into words how troubling it is, and concerning it is. But I also am trying to allow myself and encouraging people to look at both sides of the coin. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of pain right now, and there's a lot of opportunities for connection, healing, and some wellness in our lives too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely like to look into that deeper with you now. I think, and as I go to school for social work, we always try to help the clients, or even my own social worker who helps me is how do you turn something that you're perceiving as a challenge or as a negative, right, and turn into a positive? Now, of course, there's a lot of natural grieving and things we need to acknowledge, that there's suffering and that there's pain and there's an obstacle in your way, and not just, push it down, but to acknowledge that it's there. But how do we start that process of looking at the positive things? And how do we go about that? And then you have more experience in the field than I do. Is just being positive and happy, that's not the solution. I think sometimes I need to stop myself from doing that. I really want to learn and talk more about techniques and tools and different mindsets that you have found helpful in working with your workshops or your clients.
Well, one of the things I think it's important when you're talking about, and I'm a big, focus on the good, I believe in positivity, but, one of the things I think we forget about, it's not just, is to acknowledge where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's easy to say, stay positive and be positive, but sometimes we're having a bad day, and some days, we hear about a family member that's sick, or that, we're not going to connect, listen, I mean, how many people have gotten laid off of work right now? That doesn't, you don't just say, oh, well, it's, you could feel that, that's a loss. Right. So, it's one thing to, you have to really just acknowledge it. This is where I am right now. The tricky part, I always say, is that, and it comes down to neurology of our brain, is our brain likes to remember negative things more than positive things. Right. It's just how it's wired. It wants to remember there's a bear in the woods more than the fact that there's this beautiful stream, and it protects us. It's a good thing. Right. So this idea of, and I forgot the statistics. I'm a bad therapist, so to speak. I think it takes 3 good things to overcome 1 bad thing in terms of our memory problem. We'll remember those negative things much more than the positive ones. So that really just gives us an effort. And listen, so much of therapy is like that. So much of 12-step work is like that. So much of, all these things where we're consuming things. So much about that is just really being deliberate and looking and be actively looking for what's good. It's right, being really purposeful and been actively looking for what's going right now. I could woke up this morning, I could tell you all the things are wrong like that.
Yes.
And then I have to think and like, wait a second, I have a meeting with Paul, I have a job, I connected with some great kids today at school, I have some clients tonight, my girls are safe, and it's just how our brains are wired. And listen, one of the things great about brains too is a line I love from another thing I should know, not that I should. I think it was Rick Hansen who said, the neurons that fire together wire together.
I like that.
And it's like whatever we practice regularly, we become at. Whatever we practice regularly, we get better at. Right?
Absolutely.
So when we practice, anxiety, we get really good at anxiety.
Those pathways are being reinforced. And yeah, exactly. I like that. The only way it's like building new habits. They don't happen. You don't drink 1 green smoothie and now you're healthy,
Exactly. That's the Paul Vibes way, right? You're focusing on the pot. Like it's really, you have to be intentional to kind of.
Yeah. And but it takes time to build those pathways, right? Drinking healthy smoothies and working out is important, but it's about being consistent and working on it. And it is funny. I also agree with that, and kind of go off what you said. It's it's also keeping around positive people, right? What are they saying? You become the closest 4 or 5. I forgot the numbers. You're like me. I'm not good at numbers, right? But we can get the message across. The people that you keep around, you start to emulate. You start to absorb them. So if you're hanging out people that are low vibration, that are bringing you down or getting you into unhealthy habits, most likely you're going to start to take on some of those behaviors.
Listen, anxiety is contagious, right? So is happiness. You know, if you go up to somebody watch somebody come up to you and smile and see if that doesn't react to smiling you, right?
Yes.
That's what's so cool about, you know, how our brains are wired, is that we do emulate a lot of these things the more we practice it. And the same thing goes for anxiety. You know, you're around a lot of negative people and people who are anxious. You know, I go, oh my God, now what? You know?
And I think more than ever, I mean, it's always important, but I do, and tell me if you agree with me, you do find more people focusing on the small things. I find that when I'm driving and I see someone walking their dog and I smile, the smile seems like there's more intent, there's more energy, there's like a real, wow, like we can't take this for granted. Like that person I'm smiling at, tomorrow is not promised for that person or myself, or that the dog that they're walking. I mean, life is really short. And I think this whole thing, and there was a video, and you know I'm big into Eckhart Tolle, and I got his book, The Power of Now here. It's during these times of challenges, whether it's the coronavirus or something else going on personally in our lives, that you start to see how stable the ground is. And he was talking about this, he pulls from the Bible and Buddhism and everything. He was talking about how, you know, a lot of people's foundation, they're finding out is a foundation on sand. And when things come, they notice how quickly things change and how hard it is to adapt. And it's through these experiences that it allows us to kind of recreate how we want to be grounded. And I think you and I can talk more about that, of the different ways to stay grounded. But people are really realizing what's important. You know, what are things that I need to do in my life so that when challenges like this come again, and as a human, they come pretty often, as we know, but how do I build a strong foundation in my life and in my loved one's life? You know, how do I go about getting those like posts in the ground and allowing myself to be stronger when adversity comes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the opportunity in all this, right? Is that there's so much going on. All of a sudden, we're recognizing things that are very little. You know, you mentioned Eckhart Tolle, who I love, but I'm a big nerd when it comes to Jon Kabat-Zinn. You know, and he talks about, he wrote a great book, Wherever You Go, There You Are.
Yes.
And in that book, he has a chapter which I love, and the chapter is called "This Is It." You know, and it really talks about how we're always looking, well, when the weekend comes, I'm going to be able to relax. When this happens, I'm going to be, you know, like this is our life right
Now, right here.
now. It's like, all right, I'm not working or we're not doing it, but you know what? The trees are blowing up outside right now. There's pinks and there's yellows and there's white. You know, like this is our moment. This is it. You know, like, you know, to practice that mindfulness, to kind of look for those goods in this moment, despite anything that might be around us that is kind of sad and heartbreaking. There is these moments that we have that we can kind of absorb it, you know, and not waiting for, well, when this passes, I'll appreciate everything better. You know? It's like, let's look for what we can appreciate today. You know, I mean, I have a tree outside this window here, and it's like it slowly turns pink, you know, and it's like I can get into I can go two choices. I can sit in my office and worry how empty it is and how much I miss everybody, or I could look at that tree and be like, man, look at that.
Wow.
What is going on? It's so cool. So it's how you choose to pick where you want your thoughts to go. And they're going to go both ways. I'm not going to say like everything's rosy, you know, but it's just a matter of
perspective.
This is our moment. It's perspective. Yeah.
As you know, I speak at schools once in a while. I just want to add on what you said is when I'm going to the schools and I'm speaking briefly about the challenges I've gone through, I don't go expecting that each student has gone through the exact challenges that I've gone through, right? Because everybody's journey is different, right? I have overcome a learning disability, but somebody else, my goal is to have them look at their challenges in a different way. How can I more productively and in a healthy manner deal with the challenges that life brings me and life throws at me? And as you know, life challenges us in many different ways. And I've been talking a lot about my clients, you know, the different special needs individuals I work for directly one-on-one, about what are some of the healthy things and techniques and habits and mindsets that we can take with us kind of once this blows over, which is hopefully sooner than later. And what are some, as a licensed clinical social worker, what are some of the things that you hope, not just for your clients and individuals, but as a society, what do you and your fellow colleagues, have you guys discussed? What are some things that you hope that you see change in a global way? I know it's a big question, but
Yeah, no, listen, I think it's a great question. But I think it's an ironic question, I think, because I think some of the things that are really going to help us with our well-being in this moment and in this crisis are things that we need to practice. We need to be practicing all the time, right? Whether, and I talk about, especially lately, I've been talking about a couple of things about connection.
Yes, please.
About connection, movement, and nurturance, right? Those are three big pieces of wellness that we all need to have: a sense of connection to each other, a sense of movement, that we're not meant to be inside houses all the time. Like, we are meant to move. That's part of our physical, and it actually helps our brain and our mental health as well, and how we nurture ourselves, and that can be everything from the food we eat to the TV shows we're consuming to the books we're reading, or to the videos we're watching on YouTube, right? It's all about what are we going to allow to come in. So being deliberate about that, especially right now, it seems very basic and fundamental, but this is the time. I do believe that this is a good time for us to kind of reset and really think, am I practicing wellness the way I need to? Or am I practicing wellness the way I want it to look like in my life?
I like that. And you're a big nature person. I see you go hiking at Comset often. And I hope that once this clears up, speaking of being outside, I would love to do a walking podcast with you with my GoPro. I think that'd be really cool to take.
All right. You have to be patient with me. I'm the old guy who's trying to figure this all out. So yeah.
I'll handle all the work.
All right. I like that.
You gotta stand there and look good. That's all you gotta do.
Well, I gotta try that, But listen, being outside is that's a big piece. It's so funny because I have been so busy over the last, year and a half, really building this practice, and putting all my heart and soul into it. And yet, I wasn't exercising as much. I wasn't home with my kids as much for dinners, little things like that, where it's like all of a sudden now, we have this time. It's like reconnecting. For my wellness plan, it's been about getting outside and walking and running every day, and having dinner with my family, and, all these different things that I think, personally, I'll just share personally, is that maybe I took my eye off the ball with it, so it's like, now I'm trying to use this time to kind of recalibrate and reset.
Yes.
I would encourage everybody to do that. I've encouraged my clients. I've encouraged my friends.
And I've been there. I mean, it's always easier to preach it than it is to practice it, I think. And I think for me and my journey has been is to take my own advice, right? You're running this great. I'm sure during these sessions and these group workshops, you're probably preaching that stuff. But now is an opportunity where it's like, bam, it's like, wow, look how much I've been missing that. Or why wasn't I incorporating this before? And how am I going to choose to incorporate these things moving forward? And let's say there are a lot of things that people are missing. I think we should talk a lot about that. The grief that comes with not being able to hug and love people, to maybe be close to people that are maybe the elders in our family because of the fear of getting them sick. I think there are a lot of things that people are realizing are so important. The ability to go to school. And I want to talk to you about that as somebody who's an educator, who's in school, as a school social worker. How do you go about doing things in the education system without having them engaged? I mean, it's one thing not to have that one-on-one client who's looking forward to sharing with you their anxiety and different things going on, but now you have a group of students who already have a hard time focusing, who are already dealing with the millions of things that get them anxious and depressed and sad and all over the place. Now you're supposed to go on a Zoom call with 30 kids. How the heck?
Listen, yeah, absolutely. Listen, this is the part where it's like, it's not what it should be. Is we should all be in class, right? That should, right? But that's not what we have. It's really about kind of working with, how do we make it the best of what we have?
We got, yeah.
Right. And I totally believe that. I work in a school system, and like you said, like they miss each other. Kids miss. I have kids that don't want to go to school ever, and all of a sudden they're like, "Mr. Gooding, I can't wait to go back to school." And I'm like, "I'm with you, my friend. I'm with you." But that, and what I love, one of the things I've really tuned into is when you have a couple of students, whether it's clients or whether it's students I work with in my school district, and they get together on like a call, like a Google Meet or something like that, and they see each other, so to speak, on the screen, they light up, right? There is a sense of, even when you got on here, I'm like, oh, Paul's here, like
Yes.
that sense of, ooh, that feels good. That's connection, I mean, like, and listen, it's not as good as connecting and seeing each other and giving each other a big hug, but there's still a sense of, we need to practice that.
Yes.
And the current circumstances, it makes it that much harder, because now I just don't just pop into someone's classroom, or I don't just walk over to the coffee shop and say hello. I got to dial into Zoom, or I got to do whatever. It takes it's a little more deliberate. We have to do it with a little more purpose. It takes a lot more effort to do things that were just, connecting was something I think I took for granted a lot. Right.
I do think it's going to make our hugs a little bit stronger and firmer. And when you go back and you see those students or your loved ones, there's going to be more life. This is at least from my perspective. Tell me what you think. I think there's going to be a little more like, wow, look,
yes.
This could be so quickly. We didn't think anything. I mean, there are people in their 70s, 80s who I've spoken to have said they've never seen anything like this. And but my perspective is, okay, so wow, that's crazy. Nothing like this has happened, but we're going to really hopefully come out of this with a different perspective on life, because nobody saw this coming.
And then take it back to Eckhart Tolle or John Kabat-Zinn. Like, this is it. Like, this is our moment. I kind of look back into all of my, I miss my little fist bumps with my kids, or, rubbing a little kid. Like, what a nice moment, that I think I took for granted. We all do.
Let's do a virtual fist bump. Ready? Bring up the camera. Bam! The viewers at home are probably like, why'd they hit me? No, but I gotta say, and I want to ask you about how do you find interacting with students? What are some advice that you're giving young adults? I know we're learning. I mean, you and I are learning, just incorporating this into our own life as well. But what do you find? You check in a lot with your students, more than just jumping into. I'm sure they have a lot of work to do, but how do you find that going, the interaction?
I think seeing someone is a lot better than just talking on the phone.
Of course.
Everyone kind of likes that. Even my clinicians, we used to just touch base and do some supervision over the phone. And I'm like, you know what, we gotta see each other, and I think that's what we all kind of need right now. So yeah, I think that's important with the kids. And I've even reached out to their families that way too. It's like, we got a lot of parents right now who are home with young kids or middle school kids, or I got 2 high schoolers at home. And it's nice to know we're all in this together, So it's, we've talked to a couple of our girls' parents, and just to see how everybody's going over there, and comparing notes, how some days my 18-year-old comes out of a room and other days she doesn't, and all of a sudden at night they're all alive and want to chit chat. That's what teenagers do. It's like, oh, okay, your kids are going through that too. That's that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have some of my professors. I mean, I'm in class. I'm in class with a professor, and they're very open. I think, you speaking about being real and not having that toxic positivity. There are some days where my professors are like, listen, I'll be honest. I was thinking about canceling class today because I had a lot going on. And at first, before I went to school of social work, I would think, that's a little too much information, and why are they sharing this? But at the end of the day, no matter what credential, we wear many different hats, right? You're a licensed social worker, you're a father, you're a husband, you got all of your friends, your mentor. At the end of the day, you're a human being. And I think that, I don't know, but I think you've encountered this as well, but someone in my position who founded the non-for-profit, who speaks at schools, there sometimes is that pressure to be, you got this, you're always so positive, you got everything figured out. And listen, you got a center that does all this great stuff. But at the end of the day, underneath it all, you deal with the same, excuse my language, you can curse, deal with the same shit that everyone else goes through.
Listen, I'll tell you a funny story. Just so funny. It's like, one of these karma things. And I'm a big believer in laughing at myself. And if I can't laugh at myself, something's wrong with this world, but I've done a couple of these little videos online where I kind of reach out to the public. And I did one last week about the shoulds, you don't should all over yourself.
I like that one. That was a great one.
Yeah. And I believe that stuff wholeheartedly, right? Do you know, like, the day after that, I should it all over myself. Like, I was just like, oh.
You're projecting over here.
It was like, and listen, you have a choice there, right? You have a choice. It's like, I can really sit in that should and beat myself up. Or I kind of chose to laugh at it. I'm like, look at me, like this, here I am. But just like you said, don't let all these credentials and special letters after your name make you think, we're just people. We're just people. And we're all going to have good days and we're going to have bad days. And we're all just trying to do the best we can, especially given where we're at.
No one's got the manual for life. We're figuring out it one day at a time. And, I know this conversation's been great. I know it's been all over the place, but that's what I love about having guests like you on is, I honestly could talk to you for hours and I don't think there'd be a dull moment. And I got to say, I met you, I don't know if I mentioned early on at this, it's like a 3 or 4 hour alpha training. I think it was like a mindfulness or wellness training. And
yeah, we did a mindfulness training. That's right. Yeah.
It was amazing. You did a great job. And I was like, this guy, I got to connect with. He's got such good energy. And the way that you were able to just, the person that I'm talking to right now is the same person that I've met and I talk to when there's no cameras going, or the same person that was giving me that workshop. And that's what I really like about people like you is just the ability to be genuine and like you said, being able to laugh about these moments. Because, if you're not able to be vulnerable, people don't look at you as a human being. They look at you as you're this up on this pedestal. And I think that having that humor, and you've always had that since I've known you, is so important, especially in connecting with students and your clients.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's me. That's just how I've always done things. I one of my mottos in life is in the rooms of the 12 steps, they talk about Rule 62. And Rule 62 says, don't take yourself too damn seriously. You know what I mean? So you have to. We have to be gentle with ourselves. And who am I to go tell everybody else to be gentle with yourself and do all this stuff if I'm not doing it myself? So I think how we conduct ourselves, I think it is really important. And I found just, out of a total selfishness, the more authentic I am, or I'm just true to me. I don't know if that's authenticity or what, but that's just, I know I'm just going to be true to me. And if I'm not authentic, it doesn't feel right with me, So I'd rather tell you what I did wrong and screw up and judgments of myself and everything like that, because, we are human beings. And that, again, we talked in the beginning about what the brain does. The brain's going to look for negative things. So my brain looks for those things, so it's, let me laugh at myself a little bit, and let's laugh at ourselves a little bit and not take ourselves too damn seriously sometimes.
And I think humor is a great way, and people watching this as we're talking about tools and other ways to stay kind of grounded this time. I think humor is an amazing way, to be able to joke at yourself, to make fun of yourself in a lighthearted way. And especially when you're going to be around the family and close ones constantly, being able to bring that humor into it. Because if you got the news, and speaking of the negativity, that's just whether it's the food we eat or the people we hang out with or the things that we're consuming by just watching it on our computer screens, being able to have those lighthearted moments with your loved ones, especially during this troubling time, I think laughter is great medicine.
Laughter is fantastic medicine. That's what we I think sometimes take that for granted. Laughter, when we laugh, we actually release special hormones in our brain. It's feel good. We have dopamine surges. Laughter is really, really healing. And to laugh at ourselves means we're treating ourselves with less judgment as well too. So it's not just, I love when I can throw a little scientific fact to back it up, because it actually, the truth of the matter is, it just feels good, is that I like to laugh. And I think we all like to laugh, because that's the joy of being human.
Yeah. And I think that, there's this quote by Eckhart Tolle. It's like, you think you're spiritual, try living at home for a day with your in-laws or something like that. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that. They're living at home with people that they can't escape from right now. And that might be people, their husband, they used to going in, getting a break from their job or their kids. Now they're all stuck in home. And it's, these could be reality shows, some of these families going on, because, and then there's a lot of other serious things going on where, people are dealing with other negativity, other things going on at home. And unfortunately, there may not be that escape, right? Become that.
And that's where it's the yin and the yang of it, so to speak. It is that we are, we can deal with discomfort, and we can walk through, trying to manage relationships that are really close to us. And hopefully, they're relationships that we're working on, but there's also a lot of kids out there and a lot of families out, listen, domestic violence, there's a whole bunch of really bad circumstances here that and people should know that all our social service nets are still there. The domestic violence hotlines are still open. The suicide hotlines are still available. The CPS, the child abuse hotlines are still there. The elder care hotlines are still, like, all these, things are still there. So, it's again, the yin and the yang, that there's, as much as, we're trying to look for the positive in it, there's downsides to it. And that's what connection's about. We won't know who's struggling out there if we're not in touch with people. So as a school social worker, I got to be reaching out to my families, and as a therapist, I'm reaching out to my clients, and I encourage my clients, check on your neighbors, check on this. My kids, maybe my kids in my school, check on your friends. That's how you kind of keep that momentum going of connection that we was talking about earlier.
Yes. And you do see that even when you're sent, a lot of places are putting their services online, Zoom calls. A lot of them, they're not even charging, or they can join these group calls. And I hope it's okay with you. Of course, I'm going to post the services that you offer and your numbers on the end of the video. So if people I know you're offering services, they might be a little limited now with what's going on, but I would love to put out your contact.
We're trying to work with a lot of people right now because this is really difficult. We do have video service and phone services available. And we're trying to work with people, in terms of rates and things like that. So, the most important thing is we want to try to be of service to the community. So even if someone had a question or not sure who to call, they can always feel free to call me.
And then you can relay them, direct them to me.
Yeah, because even if they're not, like, listen, we're in the Huntington area, but I happen to know people out east, and I know a lot of people work with a lot of people in Essex County. So I've been fortunate enough to have some really pretty good connections where, if we can't personally, someone in my group can't be of service, I will definitely do my best to kind of point you in that direction.
Perfect. I appreciate that. And we'll definitely include that. I'm also I saw another video, someone put the National Domestic Violence Hotline. I think that's important to throw that out there. I think you as well. I mean, having that number out there for people who may be in those situations, I think is important.
Yeah, listen, and substance abuse stuff. That's
absolutely addiction. Yeah.
Addiction stuff. Listen, the rehabs are still open. There's still people, I was on a call the other day with up in Mountainside, and they're still taking people in, and Karen's still taking people. There's a lot of programs that they're still taking people in because people are home, and their addiction doesn't just turn off.
It might be amplified now, especially during this time.
Absolutely. And listen, luckily there's a lot of services out there. There's 12-step meetings online every day, almost every hour of every day. There's all these other support networks. LICAT has some things. Everybody's got a lot of different agencies here.
Even Thrive Recovery Center, which
I've got some great stuff going on.
For free. And I actually gave a talk there a couple months ago and went really well. And the community there, and what I love, I actually just did a paper on them. What I love about them is it doesn't matter if you're currently using, or you're just somebody that wants to stay clean, or bring a friend there, or you have a family member or friend affected by drugs. You can go to these services and enjoy it. And what's amazing is they offer so many, and now they're doing it all obviously through Zoom.
Yeah.
It's a great way.
Thrive has done amazing work over there, both places. And, and what does it do is it brings people together. We talk about connection.
Yes.
Bring people together, right? And in their circumstance, it's more about drugs and alcohol and recovery, but when you're the only one in recovery, you're going to feel really lonely. When you're around a group like Thrive, and everybody's in the same boat, we're all moving in the same direction, that's connection. That's what we need to promote wellness, So I think that's like, so that's why, when I said before about, connecting, movement and nurturance, it's not just for this crisis. It's for all of us all the time.
Absolutely. As we kind of wrap up the video, I know there's a couple of things you had written down. Is there anything else in regards to that movement and wellness that you wanted to share?
One of the things I would just mention, in terms of, it might be worth spending a little bit of time on it with nurturance, is that right now, I don't know, we're all kind of stuck inside, Yes. What are we, I always ask people, what are we consuming, right? When I flip on my Netflix, my mind and my ideas usually go right to something dramatic, right? Now, if I've had a bad day or a struggling day, or I'm worried about people in my life and people are getting sick, and I go right to that dramatic, my anxiety is just going to go, right through the roof again. So I've been trying to encourage people, listen, let's make sure we're connecting, and if stay away from stuff that might be too heavy for you. Moderate the news,
We
to
can
find
exchange some spiritual videos. I'll send you some Eckhart Tolle. You send me that author that you mentioned earlier.
on Sabbath Zen. Yeah. Practice and meditation stuff. Even keeping. We talk about laughter is healing. I mean, get sitcoms and listen. I'll never get old, and I'll never get tired of Steve Carell in The Office. I mean, like
Oh, I love it.
you can't not watch that and not feel good. I mean, it's just simple stuff like that.
Great stuff. What was your favorite episode of The Office? Do you have a favorite or a favorite scene?
Oh God, the dinner party was pretty darn good.
Oh, that was funny.
That little mini screen that comes out, it says, "Look at my screen."
How about the fire? How about the fake fire that Dwight sets in the office?
Oh yes, yeah.
Jumping into the ceiling and they're
Loved. Oh God,
slamming the printer into the. Nothing like that happened in your guys' office, right? A little different.
No, haven't had that yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Well, my school, we've been known to do some pranks, but nothing with smoke usually.
So, I mean, I want to have you definitely in-house in the studio. I think that I'd love to have you again next month. I feel like we could talk about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'd be happy to come back.
I know we mentioned a little bit about your workshops, just for people now, if they want to either, after watching this, want to check out some of the workshops you're offering, or, maybe share some of the stuff that you look forward to starting up in person when this clears up. Share a little about what you guys offer.
Yeah, we've had a couple of different things. Part of, and I've said it to you before, part of my vision of what mental health or wellness, or was not just counseling where we're sitting across from each other working on really serious and important issues, but it's how do you promote it after that session, like the walking, like I was saying, and moving outside. We do a lot. I'm a big believer in mindfulness. I have a mindfulness practice myself. I just finished taking this Coro class with Danielle Smith and Kristen Bruning, who are great people to have on if you ever wanted to
Please.
talk to people about it. But they do this great Coro class. So we do a lot of mindfulness training here. We've actually incorporated a lot of different yoga programs here because people, when yoga and movement and meditation, they're all kind of the part of the same family. So to have someone come in and walk us through some, even if you don't want to call it yoga, you can even say it's just mindful movements, where it kind of we have to think about our pose we're in as opposed to what I have to do next, where I have to be an hour from now.
Be present, yeah.
Kind of slow down our nervous system and help us relax a little bit, whether through breathing or through movement. So we've done a lot of things like that. We've had other different compassion, resilience trainings and things like that. Right before we just started a great series of, which I was so excited about. I think you were supposed to come to one where we were paired up with Mountainside, where we were offering different wellness programs every week there. And they varied from a yoga program to a yoga nidra program, to we had a singing bowl workshop, to we had a mindfulness workshop, to we had an acupuncture and meditation workshop. And we were trying to do some things like that, and God willing, we will be back to do that once things kind of get back to normal, so to speak.
Yes.
But I think it's really important to show people what wellness looks like for me might be different than what it looks like for you. Everybody's got to find what works for them.
Individual approach, yeah.
It's very much so. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I gotta say, and I mean every word I say. I always hype up the guests because I only have amazing people on the show. And ever since I met you, I was like, oh my God, like I can see myself doing similar stuff when I get more established in the field. And I really do look at you as a mentor and not just a friend. And I think that the things that you're doing is just amazing. I love the whole vibe and everything you guys stand for. Your whole, even just the decor. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a and that's part of it. It's about the whole picture, right? It's not just about the meditation practice. It's about the movement. It's about the people you keep around. It's about the energy, the meaning of the things. And, I've had a feng shui master on, and I'm sure she would love the way that you keep the office set up. It's really cool.
It's a whole approach, right?
Yes.
I always say, counseling is great, and I love it, and I love connecting with my people. But, whatever we do, now we have to take it outside of here.
Yes.
Now we got to take that work home with our families. It's not just about with here. It's about how we do it overall. And I think, like you said, it's that overall wellness is really so important. And listen, you're going to be a fantastic social worker. You're on your way there with, I wish I learned some of these things when I was a little younger, but we all, do it on our own time.
No, absolutely. And I look forward to having you more on the show. And I recommend any of the viewers, I'm going to have the links to your your social media pages, your website, your email. I'm going to include. And I do hope that you come on again, especially once this clears up. We'll do a walking video. We'll have you in the house in person where I can hug you, and hopefully it's all safe. We can do that.
I'm looking for a hug, brother. I'm looking for a hug.
Virtual hug.
I need a virtual hug, brother.
So listen, stay on, but let's send some good vibes to the camera and to all the viewers watching this. Thank you so much for watching another episode.
Thank you so much, and thanks for keep everybody connected out there.
Yes, please. That's important. Thank you for doing that as well. And I will see you all soon. Be sure to subscribe. We're actually going to be uploading these podcasts from now on iTunes, Spotify. We're expanding all the different places that we throw this out there. So we're hoping that, like you said, the more people that can watch us, the better. And my philosophy is, even if one person, it makes a difference in one person's life, that to me is what it's all about. So thank you all. I hope you all stay healthy and clean. Sending you all good vibes. Thank you.
I really enjoyed being on Paul's show. Paul is really good at making you feel comfortable and relaxed. And when I was worried about it being too much of an interview, it was very relaxing and just a really good conversation to have it. I think having a platform like this is so important for all of us to stay connected and find new ways to promote wellness and growth in all of our lives. So I highly recommend, and peace out, Paul.